Hello, my name's Bryony, and today I'm going to be going through the second week of our singing program. So this week we're doing our warm-up, and we'll do a warm-up every week, but this week I'm going to take you through some individual warm-up activities so that you can see what a warm-up should involve, so you can make one up yourself, or just so you know what each part is there for. So my type of warm-up is called a 5-point warm-up. So we have body, getting everything ready to go, breath, so you've got the fuel to make the sound, pitch, so we're not damaging anything when we're slowly warming up to those high notes and those low notes so that we don't cause ourselves any damage. Resonance, so that, which can also be called placement, so where the air hums in your body to make those vibrations in the air that other people can hear. Different places of resonance will have different volumes. And articulation, so that's the bit that chops up those words into words. So that's what our tongue, our teeth, and our lips are up to. So to get started, I'll tell you what you're going to need for the session. You will need water. You could have squash, but I'd advise against fizzy drinks or anything that has dairy in it. It clogs, it just makes everything a bit claggy, a bit phlegmy, and you won't make a very nice sound. And also you could be harming your voice. So stick to water when you're doing singing practice. You will need enough space to move about in. So I've got a wonderful music studio here at Fountains Mill Young People Centre. So excuse the drums and stuff. When we do this in person, it involves a lot of running around and a lot of moving about. But obviously at home, you might not have as much space, but you at least need to be able to swing your arms about and move and not trip over anything. So a nice clean space, clear space. Also, some nice, easily movable trousers. Obviously, if you're inside, you might not want to wear shoes. I often don't wear shoes in a warm-up because I feel more connected to the ground. So I'm going to take mine off now, actually. So you don't necessarily need shoes, but you need to be able to move freely. So jeans are way out of the question. So to get started on our body, normally in person, we'd all be running around. So I'm going to introduce you to a game called Pirate Pete, and get involved at home, it'll be fun. So Pirate Pete is a game where you move around the space. So we're just gonna walk around. Now there's different things I'm going to call out. And when I call them out, you're going to do something different. So our first one is Captain's Wife. So when I say Captain's Wife, you're going to stop, you've got to put your feet together and you're going to go, ooh la la, like you're a fancy Persian lady, okay? So Captain's Wife, ooh la la, okay? Then we have Climb the Rigging. So this one, your knees are coming right up like you're climbing, and your arms, we're climbing the rigging. It's quite self-explanatory. We're climbing up the sails. Then we've got Captain's Coming. So remember, we've been walking around the space. For me to say something. And if I say Captain's Coming, you stop. Aye, aye, Captain. It's quite simple. So we're moving around. Captain's coming. Aye, aye, Captain. Okay. And our last movement is submarine. So if you hear me say submarine, you got to lie back, stick your leg up in the air like you've got a periscope, and go boop, boop, boop. Now you might choose to swap between legs because one of your legs might get tired, but we're going to be moving around space. The point of this sort of thing is to get your brain engaged, so I know that you're listening, you know that you're listening, and you're just, you're having fun, and you don't notice that your heart's beating faster. But it definitely is after a couple of rounds of this game. So the final 4 things are directional, okay? So this is why it's important that you've got a clear space. If I say port, you're going to the left and you're going to run and touch the left wall if you've got space. If you can only take a few steps and touch, do that. Please don't trip over anything. Please make sure your space is clear for your safety and my well-being of mind. So, port. Okay, last one to touch the wall when we're playing in a centre, or if I can see you all on the chat, the last one to touch the wall is going to have to do 30-star jumps. 30, not 13. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. And while that person's doing that, everyone else gets on with the game. So that is the punishment for being last. So we've got port. Is starboard. So if I say starboard, you're going over here. If I say forward, we're going in front. Forward. So forward. And up. Now, this game is great fun because halfway through you'll have been doing Captain's Wife, ooh la la, and the captain's coming, aye aye, Captain, submarine, and climb the rigging. Wow, I'm out of breath already. So you'll be doing all of that and thinking about all of those moves, and then I'll go starboard, and everyone will stand in the middle of the room going, oh, starboard again? So you really have to concentrate. So forward, aft, port, and starboard. Okay, so it's quite clear, but it's a little bit more tricky if you're running around. So I'm now going to move around space. A purposeful walk. We're not running anywhere, but walking like we want to get somewhere. Okay. And we're rigging, so we're climbing, and we're climbing, and climbing Captain's Wife. Ooh la la, and walking around space. Okay. So it might be fast. I might give you a little bit more time. We don't know. And we're going to submarine. And climb the rigging. And walk around the space. Okay, so we're getting a bit we're getting a bit more engaged there. Our body's a bit cooler. Your mic's off, Maggie. So we've now run around a little bit. We've got all of those movements going. When we do it in person, this game will go on until all of us are on the floor and out of breath. So it's quite a fun game to do in person because it's competition. And with more of you joining in, we could even do that at home. Our next game style warm-up is find. So I might say, find something blue. And you have to go and touch something that is blue, okay? So, blue. Find something red. Find something black. Okay, it's quite self-explanatory. Again, we're getting around the room as fast as we can, but not tripping over things. We're not sprinting. This isn't a warm-up for athletes. This is getting your body ready, getting your heart going. You want to feel warm because we don't want any of our muscles to get injured. So that's the second sort of game that we do. And again, it's quite fun because people forget what it is. So the other game that we can also do is, again, we're walking around the space. Around space because a brisk walk is an effective way to get your heart up without getting you out of breath. So We're walking around the space. It also makes you more aware of space. So if maybe you're part of a musical and you've got 7 people over there dancing, you've trained yourself to be aware of them without having to look at them. Okay, so that's part of the reason that we play this sort of game. But this game has 4 numbers. Each number means something. So if I say number 1, you are going to clap. Okay, so number 1. So we're walking around the space. Number 1. Okay, simple. Number 2 is touch the floor. Okay, again, easy, touch the floor. Number 3 is jump. So you're going to jump as high as you can. And then number 4, you're going to spin around just like that. Okay, so we're walking around this space. 1. And 2. And 3. And 4. Okay, so walk around the space. 4. Okay. 2. 3. 2. 3. 2. 3. 1. Okay. It feels like I'm cheating when I'm doing it and saying the words. But again, we'll swap stuff about. We'll get you going faster and faster and faster and really make your brain work as well as your lungs. I might also eventually be a bit mean and shout reverse. And reverse makes number 1 number 2. So when you were clapping, you'll now be touching the floor and vice versa. And number 3 becomes number 4 and vice versa. But I'll only do that if I'm feeling particularly mean, because it confuses me just as much as you guys. So next, we're going to do kind of a more general physical, get your heart rate up, stuff that gets your heart rate up quickly. So that's stuff like the star jumps. We're making sure our knees are slightly bendy, because we don't want to jam our knees backwards and hurt ourselves. And we're just going whatever speed you can go at. Make sure your heels, you roll through your toes onto your heels. We don't want anyone getting shin splints because they hurt. So we're doing stuff like this. It'll probably be 30 seconds of something, then 30 seconds of something else. The idea is that the intensity is high, so we can get more done quickly. Do some butt kicks. Nice self-explanatory. And we'll do some knee lifts. If you are fitter than me and you can do that running, then that's great. But I like, so as fast as you can, but make sure that your back is straight and it's your knees coming up. Because one of the things that knees are brilliant for is making sure that your core is engaged. And your core is, so all of these muscles kind of work like a corset to hold you up and support you. And if you aren't activating these, so not tensing, we don't want tense, but if you're not activating them, it's really to stand like this, let yourself just flop. And feel how hard it is to breathe when you're like this. The breath doesn't go as low, it's not comfortable, so we want the most space for our lungs. So this is a good exercise for starting to get those muscles working, get you aware. And then some arm swings. These are always fun. Start with them backwards, tends to be comfortable for me, and then forwards. And remember, like, do this until you feel warm. If I'm moving on too quick for you right now, pause me, ignore me for a bit. Just work your chest, your shoulders. Don't worry about what I'm doing. Okay? So, if you can swing both ways. I never used to be able to do that with the kids. So when I worked out how to do it, I was so excited. Okay, so that's a little bit of our belly, a little bit of our legs, a little bit of our shoulders and chest, and a lot of our heart and lungs. Okay, so the next thing to do, now that we're feeling a bit warmer, is we're going to stretch all of the muscles that we're planning to use throughout this session. So thinking about what is the support system. So if you imagine that your body is a circuit, so we're an electrical circuit, and if something's disconnected, the circuit won't work. Your thighs, your calves, the balance in your feet, all affect how your abs are working, whether your abs are holding you or supporting you. Obviously, that's really important, because if you imagine your diaphragm, so we've got a little bit of skin, well, not skin, of membrane, just below our lungs. So if you feel the bottom of your ribs and you work your way in, and you feel this squidgy bit here, this is where your diaphragm is. So your diaphragm pulls down. When your diaphragm pulls down, your lungs fill up like balloons. And when your diaphragm goes up, your lungs push that air out. So your diaphragm is kind of the mechanism for breathing, if that makes sense. So we want to give as much support to our diaphragm, as much space for our lungs to expand as we possibly can do. So to begin with, I want you to just reach for the sky, and I want you to be just stretch as far as you can stretch. Look at the sky, and drop, bend your knees, and then stand up again, and we're going to go again. Pointy, everything as straight as you can get it, and then drop. Okay, so this is pulling everything up and then letting it drop, because again, we don't want the work we're doing to cause tension. We want to be all relaxed and free. Okay, next we're going to have like a proper cartoon waking up in the morning yawn. This is opening everything up. A yawn doesn't feel like a yawn to me unless I've made a noise. So nice big cartoon yawn. So everything's nice and open up. Then we're going to work on the bits that are often really tense. So we're going to do some shoulder rolls to begin with. So we're going to bring our shoulders up to our ears. And we're going to pull forwards like that, and then down. And then all the way back and up. So we're going to have a couple of these. And make sure you're not jamming too much into your neck. If you're doing this, you're doing that, you're going to hurt yourself. So we're keeping our neck nice and neutral. And really pulling our shoulder blades back and letting them roll forwards like that. Nice free movement again. We're going to go backwards, so back up to your ears, pulling back. Imagining that we're doing up a zip in our back, so we're zip, 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 zip. Just pulling. And remembering to keep our core nice and supportive, not tense, but we're not flopping, we're not bending. Also, we're not sticking our bottoms out or sticking them forwards. Just nice and neutral. Okay, one more of these, big one. There we go. So, our next stretch is a side rib stretch. So, the way your ribs work is they swing out and in. Your bottom ones, they're called floating ribs. And they swing out and they swing in, and that gives us space to expand our lungs. So when we're talking about breathing, which I will do a lot because it's essential. You can't sing without breath. But I'm going to talk a lot about 3D breathing, using all of the space in your back and your side ribs and your front. Fill with air. We're going to fill it with air. Okay? But to do that, you need this bit of you to relax a bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to have our feet hip width apart. We're going to lift our arm up, stretch it towards the ceiling, and then slowly we're going to bend down, and we're making sure that we're nice and neutral. So using those abs again, using that core, and we can give this bit a tap, wake it up, get it ready to go, give it a bit of a rub right between your ribs, see if there's any tension there. Okay, we're going to let it go a little bit further as you breathe out. And we're not going further than is comfortable. So a little bit of work is fine, but if you're twinging anything or anything is hurting, then just relax a little bit. You don't have to be able to touch the floor or anything. If you feel like you need more of a stretch, go ahead and grab your wrist. And now we're going to come back up nice and gently. Nice and gently. Just drop down to our sides. You'll probably feel a little bit uneven at this point. Lift this arm up, all the way up. And we're just going to let ourselves go down exactly the same. You might be tighter on one side than the other, that's fine. Remembering to breathe into this bit, wake it up, get it ready to go. Great, need more of a stretch, go ahead and grab that wrist. And remember to keep breathing. Everything is easier when you breathe. And we're going to let ourselves slowly come back up. And we're going to give our neck a little bit more of a stretch. So we're going to lift our shoulders up to our ears, as high as you can go, and up. Okay? Up as high as you can go, and up. All the way up to your ears, and up. Okay? So this is getting all of your shoulder muscles to work, and then telling them to go away. Okay? Because we don't want tension. Okay, our next one is we're going to gently, so we're not yanking our head over, just gently letting our ear flop down. Our shoulders are nice and low, going as far as is comfortable. I'm going to put my hand on my head for a little bit more of a stretch, but I am not pulling my head. My hand is resting gently on the side of my head, okay? And if you just imagine you've got a tall dog here, you're stroking its head, you're playing with it with your free hand. That makes our shoulder wake up. It gives you a bit more of a stretch across this side of your neck. Okay, and then we're going to let our hand drop first. And we're slowly coming back up. And then once we're up, we're going to go down on the other side again, shoulder down. Our hand on our head, gently, not pulling. And breathe. Nice, easy breaths. Letting the air just fall in and out. Nothing is hard work at this point. It's all nice and easy. Say hello to our little friend again. And then we're going to let our hand float back down, nice and easy. And our head's going to slowly float back up. So that feels really nice. If you carry your tension on your shoulders, which if you spend a lot of time on your phone, gaming or carrying bags, you probably have that tension. So this time, we're going to let our head, again, we're falling forward. We're not jamming it forward. We're just letting our chin come down to our chest, nice and gently. And this bit of your spine is really delicate. It's very easy to harm your cervical spine, I believe it's called. So we're keeping it nice and gentle. We're going to bring our hands up, float them up. We're going to interlace our fingers. And we're going to rest them on the back of our heads. Just like we did with our side bend. There's no pressure here. It's nice and gentle. And breathing in and out. Making sure our spine is supporting us. Okay, at this point, depending on what you want to do this warm up for, you can either roll slowly back up, or you can bring your head down, let your head get really heavy, and then slowly, imagining vertebrae by vertebrae, we're going to roll. So my knees are slightly bent. In a second, my bottom will pop backwards to support the roll. So there's no pressure again. You might not be touching the floor. This isn't about your hamstrings. So it doesn't matter if your legs are bent like this. Because what we want to be stretching is our back. We want nice, easy, flexible movement. To make sure that all of the muscles here that support our breathing are nice and open and flexible. So we are going to flop about a bit like a rag doll. So we have a look here. My feet are about hip width apart. My back's nice and soft. We're just going to rock gently, not forcing anything. A good way to check if your neck is relaxed is to just give it a little shake. Shake no, nod yes. And just let our body sway from side to side. Nice and relaxed and easy. So this is really good for your lower back. Okay, next thing we're going to do is for our upper back. So we're going to give ourselves a hug like this and just let ourselves sink as far as we can go. We're going to take a deep breath here and we're going to blow it out on a noise, okay? So we're going to go. And as we make that noise, we're just going to relax further into it, okay? Again, shake your head, make sure your neck's not tense. Okay, and we're going to release our arms, give ourselves a bit of a bounce. So bending our knees, shaking about, making sure we're nice and free. And we are going to roll up. So we're not going to go straight up, because that's not actually working your back, that's just your bum and your belly. So we don't want to do that. And also, it might make you quite dizzy, so we're going to avoid that. What we're going to do is exactly the same as how we went down. We're going to let us come up a vertebrae at a time. So our bum is going to pull back in a little bit. Then we're going to start feeling a little pull in our mid-back. Slowly, 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 our shoulders go back. And the last thing to come up is our head, okay? So we're making sure that we're working the whole spine so we can roll back down
And we're doing this nice and slowly to make sure that we're working everything. Then we're going to roll back up, so feel where the muscle is working. Try and feel as you go up. So, now that we've worked our bodies, we've got more of a flexibility. We're just going to shake out. We're going to have a quick shake out. Move our hips in a circle. And the other way, like you're hula hooping. We're going to just spin round. And while you're doing this, feel where the balance, where your weight goes in your feet. So when you're right at the back, where is your balance? When you're right at the front, where is your balance? Where can you feel the weight? At the end of all of this, we're going to do a posture check. So, depending on where you maybe learned to dance, or how much activity you've done, or if you've never done anything, your posture will be different. For example, footballers tend to have very tight hamstrings, and they often rock their hips forward, ease that, which I don't know how they do that. It's quite uncomfortable. So for our posture check, we want our feet hip width apart, knees slightly bent, slightly bouncy, not all the way down, obviously, and not locked backwards. We're going to have a nice bouncy movement. Our bum isn't rocked forwards, but it's also not sticking out. We've got no ducts here. We're going to engage our core. So, one way to look at it is imagining that you're putting on a really tight pair of jeans. We're grabbing the zip and we're pulling the zip up, okay? So, that's engaged in your belly. We want our back to be nice and straight. We don't want anything to be, you have a natural curve in your back. Some people have more of a curve than others, but we don't want to stick our bums out and make it worse. We want to pull our hips under us. Imagine that there's a pole that goes through the top of your head and out down there to the floor. So we're not like trying to force anything, but we're nice and straight, okay? We're making sure our shoulders aren't up from our ears. They're also not rolled forwards or pushed all the way back. They're nice. Again, imagining we've got a zip pulling down. Okay, so we've got our shoulders comfortable. And our head's not doing this. It's not back here. We're imagining that there's a golden string of light and it's pulling through the crown of our head. Up to this side. Okay. Another thing we can do to make sure our shoulders and our neck are free is imagine that you're on a massive stage and we've got the circle, we've got the stalls, the circle, and then we've got the gods. We've got where the cheap seats are. We're going to look to the cheap seats in the theatre and they're all applauding us. We've got a standing ovation and we're going to thank the people in the cheap seats and we're going to let our hands. So we're taking in all of that round of applause. It's so nice, it's so nice. And we're just relaxing in that, okay? So our shoulders are nice and back, our head's up, it's not down, but that is just nice. Okay? Then, once we've got our posture, we can think more about our breathing, because what all of that's done is it's given us the foundation for our breath, okay? And we're going to start by panting. So, like a dog when it's hot, we're going to stick our tongue out. Doesn't matter if you look silly, I'm going to look silly too. So we're sticking our tongue out and we're going. I need some water. If you need some water, grab it whenever you want. Don't wait for me to do it. So let's go back to that panting. So you'll notice when I'm on sideways, you see my belly moving? Okay, so this bit, put your hand on it. Put your hand on where I pointed out where your diaphragm was before. So in the middle of your squishy bit between your ribs, I'm going to put a hand there or two, and we're just going to go. That's your diaphragm. Another way we can do it is to laugh. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. It's easier to feel it than to see it. But we're engaging that diaphragm, we're asking it to work for us. So let's get back to that pant. Good morning, diaphragm. Welcome to the party. A lot of us don't breathe into our bellies naturally. Like we've throughout the years just learned to breathe up here. So often sports coaches will tell you to do a quick breath. So if you're running and you need quick breaths, often you're up here. Okay, and when you're upset, often people breathe up there as well, and it can cause tension in your shoulders. It doesn't give you much of a solid foundation to sing on. So we want to aim to get our breathing as low and relaxed. So I heard this referred to as Buddha belly. So it just encourages people to don't worry about looking fat. This is not about being the world's best supermodel. This is about having a good foundation for breathing. So we're not pushing our belly out, but we're going to let our breath fill up our belly. We're going to put our hand up on the diaphragm, make sure that's still doing some work. And if you imagine we're not pushing our muscles out, we'll move out of the way of our lungs, okay? So we can imagine that in the side and the back as well. So feel breath into your back. And this is a lot of imagination work. You've got to picture it happening. Okay? Breathing into our side ribs on our back. We're going to fill up a water balloon, okay? So if we imagine that all of this is a water balloon, obviously when you put the water in, it starts at the bottom and then slowly it expands. So that's what we want to do. We want to let the water, the air, drip in, flow in, and then gently go back out. Okay, so in. Feeling where our breath is. If it's starting up here, that's fine. This is something that we slowly work towards. It's just being conscious of your breath. In and out. And in and out. So I did an ab workout yesterday and I'm feeling actually a little bit tight in this area. So what I might do is give myself a jiggle, wiggle my hips about. Make sure I'm not holding too much tension in my belly because that does make it harder to breathe. So we're going to jiggle about, look a little bit silly and take a deep breath in. And out. Okay. Another way that we can focus on our breathing is to count. So often you'll have a count of 4. So we'll breathe in, 2, 3, 4. So one strong breath. So let me count in my head. Okay, in and hold and out. This exercise is as much about getting the right amount of breath as it is about finding where our breath is. So your breath is actually weaker if you push out loads of air, and we'll talk way more about it next week in the breath and posture session. But we're going to think about only taking in as much as we need. So if we're counting for 4, we don't need to go because it's too much air. So one way of making sure that you haven't got loads of air still there is to go
So you're not breathing in between the fifths. Okay, because that lets your body naturally take in as much air as it needs, and you really don't need a lot of air to make a sound. So you could breathe out all of that air again, and you can still say something. It might be a little bit harder to say, you might run out of breath quite quickly, but you're making a sound, okay? And let that air drop back in. Okay, so this time, I'm going to count for you. We're going to go in for 4. We're going to go out. We're going to hold for 4. So this helps us engage our vocal folds. So we're stopping the air. We've made a difference between letting the air in, stopping the air, and then letting the air out. Okay. So when we use our vocal folds, so they slam together, and it's that slamming together. Well, no, slamming is too hard a word. They bump together, let's put it that way, because we don't want to think about images that could cause us to hurt ourselves. So when we think about shouting or screaming, that is slamming our vocal folds together. That's why the noise is so loud. But it's also why it can be quite harmful to your voice if you're not doing it fully supported and properly. If you've got lots of air bursting out with it, the slapping together, bits of your vocal folds that aren't meant to come together do. And like any muscle, like your hands, eventually they start to get a bit sore, don't they? Well, your vocal folds are exactly the same. So we want to avoid that at all costs. We want to make sure that it's all safe all the time. So these warm-ups are a way of doing that. So we're going to go back to that in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, okay? So in, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 3, 4, and out, 2, 3, 4. So I make the sound because it's easier to follow that sound from an instructor's point of view. But when we shape a sound, it will do something different. So a good way to practice this to make sure that you're focusing on what's internal instead of what's up here is to breathe in through your nose and hold, and breathe out through your nose. Okay, so we're not pushing anything, it's all just happening naturally. It's going in, we're holding our breath, and we're breathing out again. So naturally our breathing is tidal. That means it comes and goes quite slowly, quite gently. If you're not focusing on your breathing, which when you're thinking about your breathing, you can't help but do. When we're not focusing on it, it just does it naturally. It goes in, and it flows back out again. So we're just putting a stem in that tide for a little bit before we move to the next bit. And it helps us focus. As we go through our warm-ups, we're going to extend that. So I think you guys would be able to go for 8. So we're going to breathe in for 4, 3, 4, and hold for 4. And we're going to breathe out for 8. And let our breath naturally come back in. Now, that might have been challenging for you. We're working slowly as we go, so don't panic if anything's too difficult at this point. Just try and do what you can. The next thing that I'm going to show you is called Lotus Breath. And this is what I used to do at uni every day as my warm-up because I found it really useful. So we've got our feet hip-width apart. We're going to breathe in and lift our arms like this, in. And we're going to breathe out and we're going to push down. I'm pushing all of the air out of an air mattress. Then
This time we're going to push forwards. Breathe in. And we're going to breathe out. We're going to go on our tippy toes. Now what this is doing is it's challenging your whole body to work together to make that breath. And I find that really helpful to engage my core and my legs. And so I don't end up standing with lots of tension or no tension at all. Now we're going to move towards our resonance section, but we're going to keep using this Lotus format because it's an easy way to do it. So we've done our deep breath, so we'll do that one more time. We're going to go in and out. And in and out. Again, I don't need to be able to hear you breathing. If that okay, and our next thing, so we've done an unsounded breath. Okay, so we're not making a noise. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to start shaping that breath. So this time, I want you to find a s sound. So you're hissing like a snake, okay? So we're going to breathe in. And we're going to breathe out on a s, okay? So that time I took in way more air than I needed. So I'm going to go, and I'm going to breathe in. I'm going to exhale on a I'm going to breathe in. And we're going to go again. Okay, we're going to do that one more time on this, okay? So we're trying to keep that breath consistent. So we don't want it to be loud and then quiet or bouncing between the two. You can also use a noise, so an F for frog, but I tend to need more practice with S's because I sometimes get what I call splashy S's. So I don't get a clear noise, I get a noise. So I practice it so that I can improve that. If you think of a frog would be more useful to you, then do that. And in fact, it would be great if you would, in your warm-ups, alternate between the two to give you more practice with each face shape that comes with that breath. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to move on to a voiced sound. So we're going to go from a to a v, so the van, or we're going to go from a to z, so zebra. Imagining you're a buzzy bee. So this time round, because I did the for my unvoiced, I'm going to go for a v, for van noise, because
It's different, it works a different part of my face, and also it's something that challenges me. So do whatever challenges you. So we're going to breathe in like before. So make sure you're letting out all of the breath that you've just breathed in unnecessarily before the thing, because I do it all the time too. We're breathing in. And we're breathing out. But again, I breathed in way too much air that time, which the temptation to do that is quite strong. But when you're making a voiced sound, because the sound is coming from your vocal folds and not the breath in your mouth, so the buzzy noise of the is starting here and moving out. So the shape of a and a is the same. What's different is the engagement of your vocal folds. So that's why we do an unvoiced and then a voiced. So breathing in. And we're breathing out. Breathing in. And we're breathing out. In and out. So at the beginning of that last one, you might have noticed that I went. So what happened there was I took the voice out, and I shouldn't have done. But it's something that happens, and it's something that you could spot for yourself when you do it. Notice when something didn't go how you do it, you wanted it to, and try again. It's as easy as that. So we're going to breathe in. And keep that out breath nice and consistent. In. And in. Okay. Next, we're going to move on to a hum. So again, that's a nice voice sound, but because the shape of it is in our mouth, in our lips, it brings that resonance forward, that placement of the vibrations forward. It's also a nice gentle sound to start getting us into pitch. So I can talk like this, or I can talk like this. That's a difference in pitch. So you're not necessarily bringing it into a song, not necessarily going into a voice. You're not necessarily going into a singing voice by changing the pitch. So that's not, you don't have to worry yet if you're going to be pitchy or not, because it's not about that. It's about what's comfortable for you. So I'm going to find a nice, I'm going to feel it coming into my mouth. You can put your hands on your lips. You want to feel the buzz in the front of your face, in your mouth, in what's called the mask of your face. Okay, so we're gonna go. Take a breath in, and we're gonna go out on a hum. If you can't find the hum, chew around your mouth a little bit. Again, like that voiced zzz, our vocal folds coming together. So we don't need a lot of air to make that happen. So think about that when you're taking the breath in. Okay, so next. And then in.
Now we're going to go for that one again, but this time I want you to pick a different pitch. So you can go lower or you can go higher, whatever way you want to. If you often speak very high up and you don't know how to go lower, I suggest you try a lower note than the one you just did, because it helps us to have a wider, more flexible range. If you feel you only speak in a low voice or sing in a low voice and you'd like to go higher, try a higher note. So I'm going to go down because I'm not very good at low notes. Okay, so we're taking a nice breath in, not too big again, remember, so and in and out. Notice I changed notes there because I realised I started on the same note. And in. If you've drastically changed your pitch, you might notice that the buzzing feels like it's coming from somewhere else. So try and keep your lips, feel the buzz in your lips, whatever pitch you're doing. Just keep chewing it forwards, okay? So in and okay, so we're going to stick with this lotus breathing, and we're going to do ma, me, may, mo, more, ring. So these different sounds cause different parts of your voice to resonate, and they work better at different notes. So we start with a ma, because I'm getting a buzz. Our ba, our ma even, our sound tends to be comfortable where we normally talk. So we're going to do exactly the same thing, and that so we're not going ah, because that can be quite harsh and we're still warming up. So we're going ma. So it's starting in our mouth. We're going to let our lips tingle and then we're going to release the sound, okay? So again, we're going to breathe in. Release. Ma. And you'll find, like the other one, you don't need a lot of breath to do it. So we're going to and in. And release. We're also going to imagine a little bit of a laugh. So, or someone's got a secret, and you know the secret. That feeling of like that nice released feeling in your throat that you just got thinking about that. We're going to keep that because that keeps us nice and open, and it stops us from clenching up and tightening and hurting ourselves. So we're going to imagine that laugh as we go up into our big one. So in. Okay, did that feel different? If it did, you're probably tensing your throat a little bit before, and now you've released it, you're letting it go. At this point, I'm going to take another sip of my drink. So, that is our ma. Like all of the other lotus breathing, repeat it as much as you feel you need to hold it. Our next is a me. Me. So our nice smiley E helps us to get into our upper range. So again, we're not pressing, we're not trying to be Mariah Carey at this point. We just want to go for a higher note than the previous one. So we're going to do, if you feel like you've breathed in too much again,
Natural breath in. And me. Okay, there's a natural temptation, which I think we think of high as up and low as down. But what you need to make sure you don't do is tip your chin up to find a higher note, because that actually makes it harder to do, because this all tenses up. The same way you don't want to drop your chin like that, because it will cause tension there. So we're going for that nice high note again, and we're going to go up. Now, for this one, instead of going up on our tippy toes, what I'm going to do is get you to bend your knees. So when we go for that higher note, we're not going up, we're thinking body, okay? So we're thinking supported and released, okay? So we're breathing in. And so nice and supported there, comfortable, and we'll move on to the next one, which is May. It's another upper register one. So again, find a note that is comfortable for you, that is opening you up. You're feeling nice and free and relaxed. Give me another one of those yawns. Okay, shake out a little bit, and we're going to go back to our lotus breathing. So we're going in. Okay, and again. Feel free to change your nose. I took in too much air there, I didn't need it. So I'm thinking of that laugh, we're not tightening up. Okay. Okay, now we're going to move into our lower register. So if, like me, you're more comfortable up there than down there, this is a really important one for you to practice regularly. So we are going to do a nice mo. So we're thinking nice, comfortable, chocolatey, deep. Okay, so it's not as comfortable for me as those upper ones, so I have to work for it. So we're going to breathe in. We're not letting any tension get to us. Even if we're bad at something, tension doesn't need to come into it. We don't like tension. It is not our friend. Okay, so we're going to breathe in. If the note you've chosen is too low for you, come back up a little bit. So I'm getting a little pitchy, my stomach wasn't quite supporting me. So on the next one, which is a more, so more is much, is naturally settles you down into that sort of bottom range. So we're gonna relax ourselves for this one, because if it's hard, we want to be more flexible. Okay, so more. Okay, so we're thinking about the R, but we're not going because the bit of the the word makes the sound resonate is the vowel in the middle, okay? The consonant is the shape, but the vowel is the sound. So we're going to go for another one of those in more. Okay, so I didn't finish at that time. I got distracted, so I'm going to do it again. More. Okay, find that hum in your mouth at the beginning. More. One of the reasons that we want that hum in the mouth is because that's what helps people hear you. You can project more if the sound is out. So you might find that someone with more chest resonance. So think, who's a good example? Oh, I can't think of anyone. But if you think of a big man, generally, if they've got a nice robust voice, their resonance comes from their chest. They're quite loud, and you don't necessarily need to be a low-voiced person. You could bring that pitch a little higher and still have a lot of resonance in your chest. Or you could have a low voice and a lot of resonance in the top of your head. Or what's most comfortable for speaking is either of those with resonance in your face. So we want nice face resonance as we move on to our moo. So we're going to moo just like a cow, okay? If you need to shake out, I do it a lot. It helps me remember which bits are tense and free. So nice shake out to make sure nothing is tense. And in. And in again. Thinking of that joke again. This is one of the shapes that makes me want to tighten my voice, so I have to work hard to remember not to. Okay, so that is the last. So that was ma, may, me, mo, more, and moo. That takes you all the way around your range and it gives you a lot of resonance. So we've tried, so I want you to try and feel the resonance in the top of your head. So when I talk normally, I have quite a lot of resonance in the top of my head because my voice is quite high. Well, not very high, but it's high enough that it resonates. Yes, so then we're going to try and feel it in our chest. It might help you think of a low-voiced person while you do that. But again, you could be at any pitch at any of these places and have resonance. It's a lot to do about imagining it again. Imagine where it is, feel it. So I'm feeling it in my chest right now. Now we're going to move it back to our face for that nice, resonant, buzzy face feeling. That's good. We like that. That means our placement is forward and comfortable, and people will be able to hear us. So we've done breath and resonance in one go and pitch, but we're going to throw in a couple more pitch ones because that's where a lot of people kind of start to rehearse badly. So we're being gentle with ourselves. We're not pushing ourselves to the top and to the bottom. We're nice and gently going through our range. So to begin with, we're going to try and roll our lips. So we're going to, so imagine it's really cold. Okay, so we're going to go. We're making sure that's nice and even. We're not pushing really hard to get to the top and giving out at the bottom. It's nice, even. We're working gently all the way through.
You might find that your is really hard to do, and that might be because you're putting too much air into it. So again, sounds don't need a lot of air. That's a misconstruing of how everything works. So and you can play in the parts of your range. So when I go up like that, is the middle bit that I use. So that bit in the middle is tricky. So I'm going to play around there. I'm shaking my head. Why am I shaking my head? I'm stopping my neck trying to do more work than it needs to do. It doesn't need to be tense. It doesn't need to work hard. It just needs to go. We're not doing this at full volume either. We're not belting out a show tune. We're just humming to ourselves, because that's what's gentle and that's what's kind. The other way that you can do that siren that we just did is, so say the word sing, sing. And we're going to find that the ng at the end. And we're going to go So you probably heard at the beginning when my voice cracked. That is partially because I have not drunk enough water today. Always stay hydrated. The most likely way you are to injure yourself is to be unhydrated and try and sing, because you need nice goo coating your vocal folds to stop from getting injured. So we're doing that nice and gently. At this point, I'd like to say, when you've got a sore throat, don't sing. Just don't do it. It takes a lot of work. So if you think about those muscles all doing all of that activity to keep you singing, you're more likely to injure yourself. So strepsils that numb your throat, or cough syrups that numb your throat, anything like that. So anything like that, you wanna keep off of those. If you're going to be singing, be aware of how your throat feels and be sensitive to yourself. Don't hurt yourself because you feel like you have to rehearse. Don't do it. And drink lots of water, and don't whisper. There is an idea that if you're whispering like this, you're protecting your throat. When actually, when you whisper, you're forcing a load of air through those vocal folds, and they're jamming together like that. And it's really bad for you. Right, but I am way over time, so I'm going to have to move on. Articulation. So we're going to do some tongue rolls. Now, I normally do 16 either way. I have been doing articulation workouts for at least 5 years. My tongue can do that. If you're starting on 8, there is no shame there. So we're going to go 8 to the left, and we're going to try and touch every single tooth. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Your tongue does a lot of the work in making you talk, but it also, if it's free and relaxed, it makes pitch easier as well, because it doesn't hold anything. So we're going the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Blah. We then do that same movement 4 ways that way, 4 ways the other way, 2, 2, 1, 1, and then blah, blah, blah. Or you can imagine that your tongue is up this thing, again, up, down, left, right, up, down, left, right, up, down, left, right. Do that as many times as feels like it's working but not hurting. Then You can try chewing gum. So we've got an imaginary piece of chewing gum. And it's getting bigger. It's getting bigger. I slowly, it barely fits in your face. The way I'm chewing it, and then it's shrinking, and shrinking. And now it's just normal chewing gum. Spit it out, throw it away. In a bin, not on the floor. And then diction dumbbells. We will do diction dumbbells every week, but basically a diction dumbbell is a consonant. So we'll do a soft one like da, 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 and then we'll try its hard version. So, but we'll go through that in more detail in later sessions. We also do a variation on diction dumbbells where instead of making the noise at the beginning of a sound, so instead of saying ta, 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 we say at. Because often when we lose a consonant, it's at the end of a word. At, oot, eat, etc. Then we've also got another thing for your tongue. So make a t noise. Where is your tongue? It should be here, right at the ridge behind your teeth. It's called your alveolar ridge, and that's where you get a nice sharp T sound. So, and then we're going to go for a D, D. So that's more of our tongue is moving forward to make that noise. D, D. Then n, n, n. So we found out in our sing that the n is further back in our mouth. So we're going n, n, n. And then l, l, l. And r, r, r. Okay, so we will go t, d, n, l, r, r, l, n, d, t. And we'll repeat that. We'll go faster and faster and faster. If I'm talking too fast, please pause me to try stuff out, but I am running out of time. Then we do what we normally do in any sort of a warm-up, which is a tongue twister, and you'll have been doing them forever. So things like red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry, or she sells seashells at the seashore. You can pick there's loads of lists of tongue twisters online, and you can pick one with the sounds that you need to work on. So Sister Susie's sewing shirts for shop, Sister Susie's sewing shirts for soldiers is one that I struggle with, so that's one that I practice. And anything that has the I also practice a lot. So what a to do, to die, today, to minute or two, to two. A thing distinctly hard to say and harder still to do. There'll be a tattoo at 1:45 with a rat-a-tat-a-tat-a-tat-a-two, and a dragon will come with the beat of a drum at 1:45 to 2 today, at 1:45 to 2. So I do that pretty much every day, at least once, while I'm walking the dog, anything like that, just to get my face working. And that's the other thing about warm-ups. And the last thing I will say today, I will let you go, I promise. But you need to do some form of warm-up every day. It doesn't have to be the full thing that we just did. In fact, it will probably be about a third of that when we do it at the beginning of a normal session. But if you want to be a strong and flexible singer, you need to do a warm-up every day. We will also cover scales and arpeggios and anything that helps us get specific with pitches, but we're not working to be a professional singer. We're working to be a safe and healthy singer. So that is what I want for you guys. That is all I'm going to say today. Drink lots of water, have a lovely evening, and I will see you all again soon. Thanks so much for joining me.